My daughter Lily came rushing through the front door at 10 minutes to 5, her tiny fingers wrapped around a plastic toy pony that had already snapped in two. Its little head hung loose from a flimsy strip of glue, and tears rolled down her 6-year-old cheeks. "Mama," she wept, throwing herself into my arms. "Uncle Richard said I don't deserve anything nice." I pulled her tight against me, feeling her whole body tremble. "Tell me what happened, honey." "At Cousin Brianna's party," Lily choked out between hiccups. "Uncle Richard gave Brianna this giant dollhouse with actual lights inside it. I told him it was beautiful and he just laughed at me. He said kids like me should be grateful for stuff from the dollar bin. Then he handed me this thing and it broke the second I took it out of the box. That's my brother Richard for you. Of course he'd pull something like that." "He told me you're too stubborn to ever ask the family for money," Lily went on, dragging her sleeve across her nose. "He said the only reason we live in that little apartment is because you keep making bad decisions." Brianna started laughing too, and said her daddy's rich and successful, and mine is just... "Nobody special," I finished quietly. More tears spilled down her face. "Are we actually poor, Mama? Is that why I never get nice things?" I forced myself to breathe evenly. "Lily, sweetheart, go wash your face and pick out something to watch. We'll talk more in a little bit, okay?" She nodded and shuffled off toward the bathroom. As soon as I heard the faucet running, I grabbed my phone and opened the recorder app I'd already switched on the moment she walked through the door. Every single word of it was saved. I sat down at the kitchen table and dialed 2 numbers. First was Marcus Riley, my corporate lawyer. "Marcus, it's me. I need paperwork drawn up for first thing tomorrow. The complete ownership records for the auto group, all 46 locations. I'm finished being patient. Have it delivered to Richard's branch by 9 sharp." The second call went to Denise Carver, my chief operating officer. "Denise, I need you at the main dealership by 8:30 tomorrow morning. Bring the entire board with you. It's about time Richard found out exactly whose name is on his paycheck." Sleep didn't come easily that night. Instead, I pulled out the acquisition papers from 7 years back, from when I bought out the failing dealership chain that included Richard's beloved luxury car lot. He'd been running it into the ground as general manager back then, drowning in his own overspending and terrible decisions. I purchased the whole operation through my holding company, rebuilt it from the ground up, and let Richard stay on in his role. He assumed some corporate shuffle had bumped him up to owner. He never once suspected that his own baby sister, the one he liked to say squandered her degree doing charity work, held the deed to every inch of his showroom floor. The next morning, I dropped Lily off at school early and drove straight to the dealership. Denise was already waiting in the lot with 5 members of the board. Marcus pulled up moments later, a thick leather folder tucked under his arm. "Everything's in order," he said under his breath. "I also drew up his termination papers in case that's the direction you choose." "Let's see how this plays out first," I told him. We walked into the polished showroom at exactly 18 minutes to 9. Richard sat in his glass-walled office, feet propped on the desk, chuckling into his phone. Through the window I could make out the tailored suit, the flashy watch, the same smug tilt of his chin he'd always carried. Growing up, he'd always been the favorite, the one who never seemed to do wrong in our parents' eyes. When I got accepted into Harvard, they barely mentioned it. When Richard scraped by at community college, they threw him a party. When I launched my own investment firm at 25, my father called it a nice little hobby. When Richard landed his first sales job, my father bought him a brand new BMW. The young receptionist at the front desk, a girl named Bailey, glanced up nervously as we approached. "Can I help you folks?" "We're here for Richard," Denise said smoothly. "He's expecting us." It wasn't true, but Bailey had no way of knowing that. She buzzed the intercom. "Mr. Bennett, There's a group here to see you. Richard glanced through the glass, and I watched recognition cross his face, shifting quickly from confusion into annoyance. He hung up and stepped out of his office. Sarah, what are you doing here? He eyed the board members behind me. Who exactly are all these people? Richard Bennett. Marcus stepped forward. I'm Marcus Riley, legal counsel for Harrington Capital Group. These are members of our board of directors. We need a word with you right away. Richard's face reddened. I don't have time for whatever pitch you're running. I own this dealership, and I don't take meetings with strangers from some investment firm. You don't own this place, Denise said evenly. You never have. What are you even talking about? Richard's voice climbed loud enough that salespeople nearby turned to look. I've run this business for 6 years. I built it from nothing. Marcus opened his folder. Mr. Bennett, in 2019, Bennett Luxury Autos, along with 45 other dealerships, were purchased by Harrington Capital Group in a leveraged buyout worth $912 million. You were kept on as general manager, not as owner. Your compensation has always been a base salary plus performance bonuses, which you've continued to collect. Richard's face drained of color. That's ridiculous. I would know if I didn't own my own company. You signed everything yourself, Denise said, pulling out a document. Here's your employment contract. Page 7, Section 3 states plainly that your role is general manager reporting to ownership. Richard's hands shook as he took the page, his eyes darting across it, and I watched the moment reality finally landed on him. This can't be right, he whispered. Who actually owns Harrington Capital Group? I do, I said softly. The showroom fell utterly silent. Even the mechanics in the service bay stopped what they were doing. Richard stared at me like he'd never seen me before. That's not possible. You work at some non-profit. You live in a shoebox apartment. You drive a car that's older than my niece. I live in a rent-stabilized apartment because I like the city, I said. I drive a dependable car because I've got nothing to prove. And I run Harrington Capital Group, which owns 46 dealerships across 7 states and brings in roughly $2.6 billion a year. Someone in the crowd gasped audibly. Bailey's jaw dropped. You're lying, Richard said, though his voice cracked halfway through. Why wouldn't you have told me? Why on earth would I? I kept my voice level. So you'd feel entitled to ask for handouts. So you'd think you deserved a piece of my success, the same way you've felt entitled to everything else your whole life. Marcus produced another document. Mr. Bennett, we're also here regarding a serious conduct violation. Yesterday, at a family gathering, you made demeaning remarks to a 6-year-old about her family's financial situation and deliberately handed her a broken gift to humiliate her. That was my niece, Richard sputtered. That was a family matter, not company business. You used your position at this dealership to prove your own superiority, Denise said. You told that child her mother makes poor choices, while implying your success was earned on merit. That reflects directly on this company and on the actual owner of it. Richard looked around wildly. The whole staff was watching now, his carefully built image cracking apart in real time. I want you to understand something, I said, stepping closer. Lily came home yesterday, clutching a broken toy, sobbing because her uncle told her she didn't deserve anything nice. She asked me if we were poor. She asked me if I'd made bad choices. And the worst part, Richard, is that my 6-year-old daughter apologized for not being good enough, because of you. He had no answer. You gave Brianna a dollhouse worth hundreds of dollars. I saw the receipt when you handed my daughter that cheap broken toy. You humiliated her on purpose just to feel bigger. Marcus cleared his throat. Mr. Bennett, the board reviewed your performance over the last 6 years. Your sales figures were passable, but your management style produced a 44% staff turnover rate, well above every other location we own. We've also uncovered a number of irregularities in your expense reports. Richard's face went from pale to crimson. What irregularities? Denise held up a tablet. Over the past year, you've expensed more than $200,000 in personal purchases. Designer clothing, your wife's jewelry, your daughter's private school tuition, country club dues, all filed under business development. That's completely normal, Richard protested. I have to look successful for my wealthy clients. Other managers hit higher numbers without committing expense fraud, Marcus said. We intend to pursue legal action to recover the misappropriated funds. I watched my brother's entire world crumble in front of me. Every ounce of arrogance drained from his face as he realized his whole identity had been built on something he never actually owned. Please, Richard finally said. Sarah, please, I'm sorry about Lily. I'll apologize. I'll get her something nice. Just don't do this. Buy her something nice with what money? I asked. Your salary? The one I've been paying for 6 years? Bailey's desk phone rang, but she ignored it completely, too caught up in what was unfolding. I'll fix this, Richard said desperately. I'll be better, I promise. You had 7 years to be better, I said. 7 years to be a decent uncle. Instead, you made my little girl cry because it made you feel powerful. Marcus handed Richard a final document. This is your termination notice, effective immediately. You have until close of business to clear out your things. Security will walk you out. You can't do this, Richard said weakly. What about my family? My reputation? You should have thought of that before you made a child cry over a toy, Denise said coldly. We've already found your replacement. She starts Monday. Richard looked at me one last time. Mum and Dad are never going to forgive you for this. Mum and Dad don't own 46 dealerships, I said, and they didn't make Lily cry. You did. 2 security guards appeared from the back, Marcus having called them ahead of time. They flanked Richard on either side, calm and unmovable. Mr. Bennett, please come with us. I watched my brother walk out through the showroom he thought belonged to him, past the salespeople who used to treat him like royalty, past the luxury cars he'd sold to feel important. The glass doors shut behind him, and he was gone. Denise turned to address the staff. Everyone, please gather up for a quick announcement. 20 or so employees clustered together nervously, likely wondering if they were all about to lose their jobs. I'm Denise Carver, Chief Operating Officer of Harrington Capital Group, she said clearly. This is Sarah Bennett, your actual owner. Some of you may have believed Richard Bennett owned this dealership. He did not. He served as general manager, and as of today, he no longer works here. Your positions are secure, your pay and benefits are unchanged. A new general manager will start Monday and meet with each of you individually. Any questions? An older salesman near the back raised his hand. Ma'am, is it really true you own all 46 locations? Yes, I answered. You're Richard's sister? The one he always said worked some charity job? I do run a charitable foundation as well, I said. The Bennett Family Foundation. We funded the children's wing at the downtown hospital, and we run a scholarship program that sent over 1,800 underprivileged students to college. The same salesman spoke again. Richard told us you couldn't hold down a real job, that you were wasting your life on handouts. Richard said plenty of things that weren't true, I replied. Take some time to process all this. For now, get back to work. Your commission structure stays exactly the same, and you'll get full credit for any deals already in motion. The staff drifted back to their stations, whispers trailing behind them. Bailey approached me hesitantly. "Miss Bennet, I just wanted to say Richard was really tough to work for. He made a lot of us feel small. I'm glad you're the one in charge." I smiled at her. "Thank you, Bailey. That means more than you know." Marcus, Denise, and I walked out to the parking lot. I could see Richard sitting in his Mercedes, head in his hands, the car he'd leased through the dealership's own corporate account, a car that technically belonged to me. "What do you want done about the vehicle?" Marcus asked, following my gaze. "Let him keep it for the rest of the month," I said. "Give him time to sort something else out." "That's generous of you," Denise remarked. "It's practical," I said. "I don't need Lily hearing that I left her uncle stranded with nothing. When she's older, she can know the whole story. For now, she just needs to understand that actions carry consequences." I drove home to my apartment, the same rent-stabilized place I'd lived in for 9 years. It wasn't big, but it sat in a great school district, and Lily loved the little park across the street. I never needed a mansion to prove what I was worth. That evening, Lily and I curled up together on the couch. I'd bought her a brand new unicorn toy, a sturdy one that actually cost something, instead of the $2 piece of junk from the day before. More importantly, I'd spent the afternoon looking into child therapists who specialize in family dynamics. "Mama, did something happen today?" Lily asked. "You seem different." "I had a difficult conversation with Uncle Richard," I said carefully. "Sometimes grown-ups need to have hard talks when somebody's behavior isn't kind." "Because of what he said to me?" "Yes, sweetheart. What he said to you was not okay. You deserve to be treated with respect. And so do I. Nobody gets to make you feel small." Lily hugged her new unicorn close. "I like this one way better anyway." "I know you do, baby." My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. Richard called. "He's furious." "What did you do?" I didn't reply. She'd find out soon enough. They all would. Tomorrow I had a foundation board meeting. Next week, quarterly earnings. The month after, we'd be breaking ground on a new location in Seattle. But that night, I was just a mother sitting beside her daughter, watching a movie about talking animals and sharing a bowl of popcorn. Lily drifted off against my shoulder around 8:30. I carried her to bed, tucked her in, and kissed her forehead. "You deserve every good thing this world has to offer," I whispered. "And nobody is ever going to make you doubt that again." Morning would bring the fallout. My parents demanding answers, Richard likely hiring a lawyer, industry reporters asking about the sudden management change. But Lily would wake up knowing her mother had stood up for her. That mattered more than 46 dealerships, more than 2.6 billion in yearly revenue, more than any sum of money could ever measure. I had built an empire quietly, not for applause, but for security, for Lily's future, for the freedom to live life on my own terms without needing anyone's blessing. Richard spent years constructing an image of success on authority that was never his. I spent those same years building something real while letting the world underestimate me. In the end, only one of those approaches was built to last. And only one of us got to go home to a daughter who knew, without any doubt, that she deserved the world.